Hey Worminators, it's the Wormmonger here, and today we're talking container gardening. There are plenty of reasons to grow our own food. It's cheaper, it tastes better, we know where it's come from, so we're cutting back on travel miles, we know what's been put on our food and what pesticides have been used, but most importantly, it connects us to the planet and the earth on which we live. It's also really easy, so let's get started.
So there are a wide range of pots that you can choose from, and that's your first step, choosing the pot. And you choose a pot according to the space that you've got and what you want to plant in it. So if you have a windsill only, then you choose something long and thin like this that you can just pop on your windowsill. You don't even need a veranda. If you have some sun coming through the window, then you can grow some herbs in here. If you have more space, then you can choose something like this, which is actually a self-watering container. It has a reservoir in the bottom, which for lazy gardeners like myself, or in really hot climates, these actually come in really handy because it just means if you forget to top up or you don't have time to top up each day, then the reservoir at the bottom will keep your plants sorted through the heat of the day. Otherwise, there's stuff like this, which is perfect for growing strawberries, which are an excellent container veggie to grow on a deck. And then if you have more space, then larger pots. I mean, you can get pots in any size and shape to grow really whatever veggie you want. What you need for container gardening is a good quality potting mix. So I can't really emphasize that enough. Get the most premium potting mix you can afford because that is the nutrients that will feed your plants. So what I've got here is a premium potting mix that I got from my local hardware store. And I just ask what is the best potting mixture you've got, and they will have a really good idea of what is locally available for you. What I like to add to that mix is some vermiculite. So vermiculite is a really lightweight, airy mineral material that helps retain moisture. And that's really good for container gardening because, again, your pot plants will lose a lot more moisture than what they do in the ground. And particularly in hot climates, you really need to retain as much moisture as you can in your containers. So I normally do about a quarter vermiculite to 3/4 good quality potting mix. And I'm just going to mix it here together in this tub. I've already got my potting mixture in there, and I've just poured some vermiculite in, and I'm going to mix it together and then dampen it down so the mixture is moist before we get it into our pots. It doesn't need to be too wet, but just give it a little bit of moisture and mix it in. Add a little bit more. Just so you can pick it up and it takes the form of your hand. Okay, so we've got our soil mixture good to go. So if we take our pots then, I'm going to use this one for an example. The next thing that I like to do with containers is actually just fill them up with a thin layer at the bottom of scoria or drainage stone. And what that does is, again, retain moisture. So for the lazy gardener, it just means that through the heat of the day, your plants will make it through without needing an extra water and wilting. So you just want a really thin layer of the scoria. So depending on how big your pot is, really, if you've got a small pot, then just really one line of the scoria will do. If you've got a bigger pot, then you can afford to kind of go an inch or two with the scoria. got a nice little layer there of drainage stone, which will absorb some of the water that you're feeding to your plants, and during the day the plants will soak that up. Okay, so now once we've got our scoria in there, we can fill our pots with our soil mixture. Okay, so our pot is now filled with some glorious potting mix mixed in with our vermiculite, and I've just dug in a hole in the middle, which is where we're going to put in our plant. So that hole will need to be as big as the plant that you're going to put in there. Alright, so once you've filled your containers with your gorgeous potting mix, it's then time to plant your veggies. So there are a whole host of things that you can plant in containers. Everything, pretty much anything that grows will grow in a container. So you can grow a cucumber or a tomato or a zucchini in a container, or there are a whole host of herbs that you can choose from as well. We're starting, I'd recommend that you actually start with herbs, because if you're new to gardening, herbs are really easy to grow, and they're also something that are a go-to in every kitchen. So today I've got some gorgeous parsley here. I've got some strawberries which are in season and will grow nicely on my veranda, and I've also got some endive, and endive is just one of those things that is a go-to for my regular nightly salad. So if I've got some out there on the deck, I can just duck out and pick a couple of leaves for my salad, and it's good to go. So my main tip is basically to choose foods that are valuable to you. Choose something that you'll use on a regular basis, and that way you're going to get most out of your container garden. Alright, so I'm just going to turn my parsley upside down and loosen it. Now I've just noticed I bought this from my local nursery, and it's obviously been growing for some time, so its roots are quite tightly compacted. Because that's the case, I'm just going to loosen those up a little bit before putting them in the ground. If you don't have that situation where you've got the roots as compacted as this, you don't need to worry about it. Then you just plant your plant into the height that of its original container. So we're going to plant it into that depth, and then just tuck the dirt in around it. Just gently press it in around the plant, and then it's good to water in. So give it a really good water once you've planted it. This one. And that'll just help him settle into his new home. And become accustomed to its new surroundings. And there you have it, Container Gardening 101.